Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this panel discussion on retail operational transformation, a frictionless experience. The entire retail industry is at a critical juncture. On the one hand, digital transformation efforts have been accelerated by up to 2 years because of rapid strategic and tactical shifts, while on the other hand, retailers remain very grounded and pragmatic in their approaches. To succeed, retailers need to adapt to the changing needs of the consumer. The ideal retail organization will be a lean and adaptive machine that delivers outstanding service but keeps operating costs as low as possible. So, how does technology play a critical role in enabling organizations to meet both objectives? Is what we will discuss in this session. Joining me in the discussion are senior technology leaders. Please welcome Mr. Subodh Mehta, Senior Vice President B2C, Godrej Interior, Mr. Mudit Agarwal, CIO and VP IT, Uflex Limited, Mr. Mayuresh Purandare, Head IT, Infrastructure and Security, Marico Limited, and last but not the least, Mr. Akash Desai, Regional Head, Solutions Consulting, ServiceNow. Welcome, gentlemen. Let me open up the session with Subodh. Subodh, the retail has been at the receiving end in the past year and a half. And to make the situation even more challenging, there are new demands from customers, from contactless delivery to same-day shipping to curbside pickup. Customers expect retailers to make it easy for them to get what they want, wherever they want it. But then, customer is king. So in light of customer preferences changing, how can retail technology leaders plug in the gaps in the area of customer service? How can they get insights into the end-to-end customer journey and provide cross-functional service? Your thoughts here.
Yeah, thank you very much. At the outset, let me thank the team of Economic Times for inviting me to this particular panel. And the topic which you've selected is definitely very, very important, very relevant to current times. So obviously, I think it has been a roller coaster ride for the last, 1.5 to 2 years for almost everybody, but more so for retailers, because I think the markets have to remain open, the economic activities, the mobility of the people have to remain at a normal pace if a retail industry has to succeed. Especially the fact that, still most of the retail industry is offline, though online industry is definitely growing up. And as you rightly said, that last 1.5 to 2 years have been the times when the digital transformation and digital influence was really accelerated tremendously. So coming to the topic, I think first most important thing is understanding the customer journey well. That is, I think, the first step one has to take without making many assumptions, without going by some anecdotal experience. It is better to understand the customer journey well. And as we all know, that customer journey is no longer a straightforward journey. It's not like a simple highway journey for going from a point A to point B. The journey nowadays is very non-linear. It is very crisscross, and a lot of backtracking also takes place. And in terms of medium, obviously, people move from offline to offline to online, etc. And you're never sure, where the customer will actually complete the transaction. And to make the matter more complex, now brands also have a lot of power to start influencing the journey. So it is always called by various names that you can actually orchestrate the customer journey if you are really alive to the customer needs at every touch point, or you can build the customer journey. So basically, understanding is very important. So we need to understand all the touch points of the journey, right from the need identification, or the need happens from the customer side, to consideration, etc., decision making, purchase, and then delivery, and so on and so forth. But what is more important is, it is easier said than done that you deliver the highest order of experience at every touch point. Doing that costs a lot of money, and we need to really optimize that. So we need to really understand which are the moments of truth, which are the touch points which are really important, and which are the touch points which have the potential to become pain points, and which are the touch points which have the potential to become delight points for the customer. So once you are very clear about a customer journey completely, then I think you start looking at from the point of view of, the where does your organization stand in terms of what progress you have already made, in terms of basic framework of delivering the customer experience, other things about where do you stand in terms of the technology adoption. So what are the actions you will have to take in terms of the technology adoption? That is very important. And obviously everybody talks about the seamless experience, which is very important. And if you talk about the seamless experience, I think people are still making journey towards that. I don't think everybody has reached, and everybody can claim that I have reached the sort of point of perfection and close to the perfection. People are making, and from a home furniture perspective, which I represent, I think it is very interesting phenomena, because Godrej Ontario is a multi-channel company. We sell through various channels. We sell through our own stores, we sell through franchisee stores, we sell through dealers, and we have our own e-com site, brand.com. You can say the godrejontario.com. And we also like to work with Amazon, Flipkarts of the world to make sure that we are accessible to the customer. So in that sense, we are truly multi-channel. Sure. Now the question is basically this multi-channel is getting transformed to sort of unified commerce. It is getting transformed to omni-channel. So that's very important part. And sharing of the information is important. For example, just taking an example that somebody is there, say, on the website of godrejontario.com. Furniture is a product which requires a lot of touch and feel. It is a high involvement product. It is not like, FMCG buying some grocery or something, and so you rely on a brand, etc. But furniture requires a lot of interaction. It is very long sort of duration purchase which happens. So it is not possible at times, the technology is improving to really replicate the kind of experience customer want in physical stores. So when he's there on the online stores, we are trying to work out that he, with a click of a button, he can connect with a store person, and whatever queries he has, he can get it solved there. So he really talks to somebody in person. So there is a element of social shopping also comes here. All said and done, Indians won't mind interacting with the people in person, etc. Even if it is being done through a digital medium, through a video sort of platform, and not really a physical visit. So those things are possible. Similarly, when one person visits our physical store, he would like to really know a large range which we have. And with a limited space, we are not able to do it. So we are quite happy to sort of use our website as an endless aisle and take him through, various aspects. Apart from that, obviously the visual search, which has become very important for a product category like home furniture, etc., is also happening in a big way. Chatbot is of course very common. Sure. But chatbot still hasn't reached the kind of perfection where a complex product like home furniture, where sometimes even as per order kind of a furniture is also delivered, the chatbot may get confused. So therefore, right, we like to have a good combination of
sure,
both the things,
sure,
the technology as well as the human intervention as well.
Right. Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Mehta, for that very comprehensive answer there. Let me move to Mayuresh now. Mayuresh, convenience reigns supreme in retail today. And to build a fanatical customer base, retailers must deeply understand niche customer personas to create highly personalized shopping experiences. And Mr. Mehta just underlined all that. How do you think technology leaders can achieve this?
That's right, Yashwendra. Nowadays, everyone wants a hyper personalization, right? If you see our website of Saffola, right? So if you see, we also have to create a lot of packets where we are selling things together, because people want that, if X product is bought, I also want to get a Y product along with it. And there is a technology which is used for that. So we don't club products just because we wanted, not because the margins and all of those things, right? Those are secondary nowadays, right? What matters is what consumers need. right?
True.
So we actually invest into a lot of analysis of what customer needs nowadays. What are the trending words out there? So with oats, right? What type of oats people like, right? And then if those oats are needed, then can I sell it with my oil for that matter? So if the health and oat go together, then the healthy oil and the healthy oat can go together, right? So these are the insights which we get from uh, the uh, the digital the social media out there, right? So social media analysis we do, we understand what sells well, and then create a products accordingly, create the product packaging accordingly, create the schemes accordingly. So you're absolutely right. It is all about what customers need, right? Accordingly you need to sell.
Wonderful, Mayuresh. Mr. Agarwal, your thoughts here, sir. What are you doing in your organization to plug in the gaps that are there in customer service?
Okay, so a slightly different take from what Mr. Mehta or Mr. Mayuresh would have said right now. Only from a perspective that I'm not exactly a B2C or a retail organization in that sense. But some of the principles of customer service don't change, irrespective of the business model that you have are in. And so, having said that, okay, if I were to look at it from a pandemic point of view, it has a slightly different connotation. But having said that, when you look at from a customer service, a lot of times it is deemed that in a B2B environment, customer service is probably easier because you have a direct connect with the customer and you know who the customer is, compared to a retail or a CPG, FMCG kind of an environment where you are probably selling to a distributor and then distributor to a retailer and so on and so forth. You're not very in touch with the customer. But the challenge for us becomes, even if when we are in direct touch with the customer, the service element is oftentimes, overlooked. Because a lot of times the discussion happens around the prices and the negotiations happen around that, and not so much about the service element. But as we like to call it, one is the element of a customer satisfaction, the element of a customer delight. I think what we like to call it, if we create actually a no-nonsense experience for customer, we can charge a premium for that. So it's a slightly different take on it. But having said that, what do we do as an organization to do that? First of all, we enable, of course, our sales guys, because those are the people, the key account managers, etc., who are in regular touch with our customers. So you have to be, in a position, use technology. Of course, technology options are there, we all know. So you have to enable your sales people, the people who are on the front line, who are interacting with those customers, so that when they are with the customer, we're talking to the customer, whether physically or online, everything is available to them. They have all the inputs available to them. Compared to a typical CPG organization, our organization has a different challenge because the product prices for us, they kind of, they keep fluctuating, they keep changing. So a person who is interacting with the customer also has to know at that point in time what could be the market trends of the prices, if the price is the determinant factor. So you have to, equip the person with that. At the same time, what you have to now also start looking at is that, whether we, whichever way we look at it, the customers are now moving towards definitely an online experience. So from an organization point of view, we about a couple of years back, 3 years back, we took a view. We started our own e-com platform. Okay. Of course, we are seeing a good offtake on that e-com platform, not so much in the Indian context, but from our customers who are outside of India, mostly in the European market. They are very, very gung-ho about it. That's the point. So the service element for us is not so much about just being able to analyze the needs of the users and being able to fulfill. Of course, that goes without saying, but it's also the entire journey, as Mr. Mehta was saying. For us, the customer journey is slightly different. It is right, from the way he's sharing his requirements, we giving those quotations, we are making a customized product for him. It's all made to order. And at what stage is the order in? If I am a customer, I want to know, I placed the order 10 days back, when am I getting it? Is it already under production? Has it been dispatched? Is it coming to me when I'm getting it? So that's how the customer looks at it from a service standpoint.
Sure.
And typically, our kind of organizations are not known for functioning in that sense. But I think we as an organization have taken a conscious call. We try to provide all these inputs to our customers. For example, Marico could be one of our customers. We cater to a lot of CPG companies.
Sure.
So from our perspective, that's what service to us is.
Right. Great. Wonderful, Mr. Agarwal. So Akash, you've just heard, all the technology speakers, but you may call it whatever you want, a no nonsense experience or ramping up customer experience. But the fact is that, everybody would have to get up close and personal with their customers, right? So is there a strategy or a solution that brings together disparate information about customers in one place, so that retailers can drive more meaningful insights about customers that improve decision making and address their requests and concerns more quickly, making the retail organization more agile? Is there a possibility?
Absolutely, and I think you touched a very important point, Yashwendra. Firstly, many thanks for organizing this session, and I'm happy to be part of the panel and rub shoulders with esteemed panelists. Comes from all the leading organizations in the country, and amazing experience in their bag. Interesting terms. Subodhji spoke about non-linear journeys, seamless experience, omni-channel. Mayuresh spoke about personalized experience, intelligent bundling. Mudiji spoke about B2B, no nonsense experience. All this, are very interesting developments that are happening, and at the back of it, the foundation of it is always, when it comes to, B2B or B2C, how well you know your customer. And at the foundation of all of this is always knowing your customer better. And that's where, the importance of, having records in a common place, which you can intelligently mine, and identify customer behavior, the patterns, and make yourself ready for the upcoming changes that are going to influence the retail market. So all this is extremely important, and you require a very powerful platform rather than disparate systems, siloed systems, where you have information scattered, the purchase info, the buying information, the customer information, the product information. Rather, if I have all of them on a single platform, the amount of leverage that I can derive from that really goes a long way when it comes to serving business. There are four very important points, I would say, drivers which are impacting retail today. One is the external dynamics. Now we are living in a post-COVID world, and it's a new normal. Customer behaviors have changed. The way they shop have changed. People earlier, for certain things, they always used to go to the store, but now, given the lockdowns and all, the online shopping has really gone up by leaps and bounds, right? And that's impacting even the packaging industry, because now a lot of shipments are happening to packaging, rather than people buying it from the stores. So a lot of external dynamics that are influencing it. Customer expectations are now changed. The pace of distribution, that's the third element. And fourth is the cost and the risk part of it. So one thing that we don't discuss often is the risk element. While I'm driving all my operations, while I'm actually trying to optimize on cost and keeping the customer happy and knowing the customer, how am I taking care of the risk and compliance that is interwoven with all my processes? So all this information coming to one place provides me that ability to even manage risk much better, because then I have all my controls captured on a single system, and I can on a real time dashboard my risk exposure that I have for the that is existing for the organization. So those are my 2 cents, Yashwendra.
Sure. Great, Akash. So the need of the hour is to have a single platform that consolidates all the information at one place, rather than having disparate systems, and that's the way forward. Great.
Just to intervene here, just one sentence. I think I couldn't agree less with Akash about having a single platform and integrated system. So we have been, calling it a single view of the customer. So what is important is the whole organization, all the functions should have the single view of the customer. They cannot see the customer from their own lenses. So once you achieve a single view, so then I think it really becomes very important. And I think many CRM platforms are available for a consumer. See, my perspective will be generally from a consumer durable, especially the home furniture point of view, sure, which is, bought and sort of research, etc., slightly differently and over a long duration of time.
Sure.
So these things are very important. So that is where CRM, I think, is definitely getting important. And but how well you implement really decides your success.
Sure, definitely. I'll come back to you, Subodh sir, again. Retail business has its own set of challenges as compared to other verticals. There is high volume of paperwork and emails with multiple forms, and then there are issues with respect to fluctuations in staffing. So what's the strategy that CIOs need to adopt for augmenting store performance by tracking store processes and meeting staff shortages? How do CIOs or technology leaders stay on top of these issues?
That obviously the store performance improvement, constant improvement in this competitive world, and rising and changing customer expectation is extremely important. And since we talked about the stores, I assume that we are talking about the online store as well as offline store. So both the stores actually have to constantly improve the performance and keep breaking its own benchmark. That is important. So we do rely on basically some pulse parameters for improving the performance. For example, if you talk about the obviously online stores, so the standard ones, how many people are visiting, how many people are the unique, how much time they are spending, what are the bounce rate, etc., are extremely important. And using the Google Analytics, of course, various campaigns we do, how they have been successful is very important. Then we focus a lot on the customer satisfaction surveys, which we do. And obviously the ratings which come from various sources. You get the rating in Amazon, you get the rating in Google My Business also, where people visit the stores and give the rating. And we also quite often generally ask simple questions to the customer after the transaction is over to understand how they are rating us. He rated us well. We try to record the conversation, and then we sit in a CFT situation, that is cross-functional situation. We listen to that record and try to understand where we have not succeeded, etc. And then we make those improvements in our complete customer delivery system. So that is the method we always use. So finally, if you store performance has to improve, the reviews have to be very, very good. Online or offline reviews have to be very, very good. What people are talking about you in social media is extremely important. So we have to constantly measure that, constantly see that positive reviews are higher. If there are negative reviews, how do we go into detail and how do we correct them? So that part, remains important. And then, of course, the standard ones is very important. If you look at the offline one, how many people are coming into your store? What has been the conversion rate? What has been the average transaction value is important. And what eventually is the customer rating after he has completed the transaction. So these are the pulse parameters we constantly measure. So basically, the mantra is keep the customer happy.
Mayuresh, retail companies succeed because they achieve optimum flow of people, goods, and workloads. What's the approach to gain near real-time inventory insights for smart merchandising, eliminate time-consuming back and forth communication? What do you think is the way ahead when you talk about these issues?
Sure, Rashmindra. So I would like to address this in two ways. One is a traditional business. So the traditional business, it is always the primary sale to the distributor, then the secondary sale to the retailer, and then the tertiary sale to the consumer. Right. So in that way, tracking the value chain is being perfected over the years. So we have been, using a lot of technology for doing so. We have been doing a lot of supply chain optimization, truckload optimization, then the beat route optimization, right? What is the route that you take every day, right? So for deliveries on the secondary sales side. So all of that has been happening for many years, and Marico has been trying to work with a lot of startups, a lot of vendors who are doing this kind of optimization. So we use for the primary supply chain optimization, we use SAP. For a secondary sales optimization, we use some third-party startups, and it's been working very well for years. We have been kind of constantly making it better and better. The recent challenge is the second part, which is the direct to consumer. Right Because what is happening is, if you are buying a Saffola, for an example, the 5 liter pack of Saffola, right? It's not going to change its price if it is sold in Reliance Mart or if it is sold online, right? The price is going to remain the same. But the customer expectation is different. They will order it online. They want it next day. They want it to be returned back if they don't like it, right? They expect the Amazon like of a service where the product is not made with that much of margin. So that is where the actual challenge of today's supply chain is actually coming in, and how do we optimize it? It is still a struggle. Trust me, I don't think so. Any FMCG company is making money on D2C, and but yeah, but everyone is trying to optimize it, right? Because what matters is that is the thing of a future. So how do you keep on optimizing those different parameters to make it better for the consumer? Yeah,
Sure.
they're not fully there yet, but yeah, trying to.
Yeah, it's a journey, right? It's not a destination that you reach overnight, right? It's a continuous journey that you have to follow.
Yeah.
Great, Mayuresh. Mr. Agarwal, your thoughts here. How do you, augment your operational processes? How do you make them more streamlined? What are you doing?
I think you see, in terms of the technology options, people who are here on the panel, I'm sure they are aware. There are plenty of technology options which are available. When you're talking about optimizations, be it at an operational level, be it at a logistics level, or a distribution level, whichever level you want to talk about, there are plenty of options available. That's not an issue. I don't think that's a challenge fundamentally. Uh, the real challenge to my mind is, as an organization, what is it that you're trying to achieve? A lot of times when we look at optimization, we also look at it in terms of silos, because that's how the organizations are structured. So at one level, you would say, okay, let me optimize my production processes. So you optimize a part of that. And then someone will come across and say, okay, let me optimize my procurement process. And you'll optimize that. And then someone will come around who is looking at a logistic. He'll say, can we optimize the logistics element? So that's third element of optimization. Are you looking at optimizing end to end? I think that's another element of optimization that we need to look at. I don't think we have been doing that, or organizations do that. And when I say end to end, it's a question of looking at it from the perspective of what is it that you're wanting to sell, or what is it that the customers are asking for. How well are you prepared for that in terms of your production processes? How well are your suppliers, your vendors prepared for that? Have you taken them in your optimization too? Are they a part of your optimization journey? Are your truckers, are your logistics partners a part of that entire journey? I think so. Again, you rightly said it's a journey, but at the point being that when you look at it, this kind of an optimization, this kind of operational efficiencies to be driven from an organization standpoint, it becomes a completely different challenge to look at. Data is available, technology options are available, there are enough number of vendors or partners you want to call up. That's one element. Second element is, the element of organization readiness and the organization culture. A lot of times people want to do it, they aspire to do it, but somewhere they kind of give up in the way. I'm not saying that our organization like that. All I'm saying is maybe trying to generalize it, that that's what happens at times. People change. So a new person comes in, the person comes in with a different set of thought, different sets of priorities. So that probably, an initiative that you would have started, that probably, maybe either takes a slightly different direction, or it, gets derailed and, you start all over again. So these are some of the challenges I think, which typically CIOs end up actually with in an organization. So yes, there are these challenges, but at the end of the day, technology is a savior. I think there are enough options available, and we do use those options. Be it at the core, or be it at the maybe the periphery, but there are enough options.
Great. So Akash, do you echo the sentiments that our panelists just shared? And what do you think can be done in addition to what these panelists just shared to augment store performance?
Absolutely. I think they are right in the middle of the operations and the day-to-day activities that keep happening. So in fact, it's a very knowledgeable experience for me, and it's absolutely in line with the discussions that I have with many of our retail customers. And I think Mudiji touched upon a very important point, the siloed functions, right? And this is something that most of the customers today are echoing. So we are looking at supply chain, we are looking at logistics, transport service providers, the vendor management part of it, the procurement and everything. And everywhere there is scope of optimization, because we have all evolved over a period of time, right? And the technologies we have accumulated over a period of time. So we started off saying, yes, we need this functions. For this functions, we'll have A, B, C, D technologies. Now we have set it all up. As Madhiji said, technologies is available, the data is available. But are we really extracting the maximum juice out of it? There is I would say the answer is no. There is a huge scope of improvement, because today what happens is, when my data is spread across multiple systems and my functions are spread across multiple systems, I will end up having a single chair approach, right? And there is not a single, I do not have today a single system of engagement which ties up all this different system of records and provides the employees, the people who are actually supposed to forward the process and execute the process, a seamless experience. So today the employees are struggling with multiple silos, and that's where you see manual handoffs happening. So today I update particular logistics systems, and I have to send a notification either via email, or I have to call up somebody and tell him that this is what I've done. And from there, the process resumes. And so always the handoffs that are happening are manual, email based. How can I bring them all onto a single system of engagement? So my TAT is always consistent, it is predictable, and I have all the right information on every time how the process was executed. In backend, I can continue with my legacy procurement systems or my supply chain systems and the vendor management systems, but I can tie it all up. So basically today, the customers, the discussions I'm having with the customers, they're all asking, can I have connected operations, first of all? Can I tie my front office, middle office, and back office onto a single platform? That is where they see a lot of synergy. And very importantly, that will bring a cultural change, that will bring a lot of process change, and organizations have to adapt to that, because that's the only way to go truly digital. Otherwise, we are just going to keep on upgrading the technologies in silos, and we feel we are on the current version of, let's say, a particular supply chain software or a current version of this. But in terms of, has the business evolved in the way it behaves? Has the business evolved in keeping up the pace with the customer expectations? Probably we would still find ourselves lying where we were. So this is a very, this is one point I wanted to really emphasize.
Coming back to Mr. Mehta, sir, if you want repeat business, it is also crucial to build customer trust. And trust begins with transparency. How can technology leaders in the retail vertical build trust with their customers?
Yeah, I think, the trust has always been important for any brand to succeed. And, and in fact, we live on trust. If you possibly, all of you would be familiar with Godrej, and Godrej is kind of associated with trust because of its long history and the way the brand has evolved over a period of time. So trust is definitely important. Now, in the last 1.5, 2 years, the trust has become all the more important. In fact, because of the kind of experience people had because of the COVID and a lot of other things, I think people have started thinking about the brand which can be trusted, the brand which are socially responsible, etc. And people generally, we see that, the brands who have a higher element of trust are getting a slightly higher traction. So trust is definitely extremely important. Now, I think, to put it very simply, the trust comes if you deliver what you promise. So normally, while selling a product and while possibly communicating with the customer during the pre-sales phase of the customer journey, we promise a lot of things. It might be an advertisement, it might be a personal call, it might be, whenever customer is visiting the store. But if delivery is short of that promise, I think we are breaking the trust. So that is very important. Deliver what you have promised, and there should not be any gap between delivery. And it is better to, tell the customer upfront. So I'll like to give an example. At times the furniture is made of various kind of items. and various kind of a raw material. So it might last 5 years, it might last 10 years. It may have certain issues when it ages, etc., etc. Because furniture is meant to be used for long period of time. Telling the customer the truth that time, this is how this particular product is made of, etc. We have seen that customer has developed that relationship with that person because of the kind of frank and transparent information the person has provided it to the customer. And then customer relies a lot on that, so whenever he wants to buy anything, and in fact that customer has become our ambassador, so to say. So many such instances have happened that not only that customer is loyal to us, but also he becomes our advocates. So he generally recommends positively to his friends and family, and which is very important nowadays, because now reviews can be amplified at a much faster speed, maybe 10x time than when the digital was not available. So it is very important to be very honest with the customer, and I think that policy has been really working well for us. Secondly, it is not going to happen that you are going to be perfect all the time. You finally rely on so many things. You rely on transporter, you sometimes rely on the people who are with contractor for your delivery, for your assembly. At times, there might be information gap, etc. So you don't always, deliver 100% sort of experience to customer. At times you miss out. Accepting your mistake and accepting that, yes, this has happened and we will make it good, is what basically brings the trust back. So I'm very happy, that is the kind of direction we've been giving to our sales team. And there have been cases where customer was very angry, and after we behaved in this manner, we sorted out his problem, we accepted our mistake. Customer says, thank you very much. In fact, his faith in the brand has been, more than doubled because of the bad experience, and then bad experience has converted into a delightful experience. So that is a very simple thing I would like, straightforward, commonsensical thing I would say about customer trust. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So Akash, customers also get confidence from a retailer's ability to repel security threats, protect his data, and help comply with global mandates, some regulations and other compliances. Your thoughts here with respect to, securing his personal data and all. How critical is that to develop that feeling of trust?
Yeah, absolutely. It is the most critical element. And today, customer confidentiality is looked upon very differently. Now we have the GDPR and all those things coming in. And so basically multiple business lines. So if you say healthcare, it's most important. And I touched upon the risk part of it very early in the discussion, right? What is the risk? How well is the customer information protected, or his and then whether he has volunteered for sharing his information. Are you compliant with those practices? You may capture his information, his buying pattern, but he may not have volunteered for it. So have you taken care of that? Tomorrow, the organizations can get pulled up for non-compliances in this area. So absolutely important to keep a check on that, and to instill confidence in the customers and make them your repeat customers. And as Subodhji said, a happy customer is your ambassador. So at the end of the day, we want all our customers to be our ambassadors, right? And it starts with trust. So we also spoke about trust. So it's important to regain his trust, or have them trust in you. You provide all the necessary security systems, and the processes and checks are in place. Yeah.
Great. So we've had a great discussion, gentlemen, and unfortunately we are running out of time. So, one final question before we wrap up the session. I'll start with you, Mayuresh. Mayuresh, as companies work through these life-changing events, CIOs should be looking at how to define the next normal after the crisis subsides. So determining how to reassemble those broken value chains will be a key element of that. That's what I feel. Because, doing so creates what I call adaptive digital resiliency. What kind of and how can there be restructuring of the value chain?
Sure. So, see, one of the biggest value chain for any organization is the sales value chain. And for the FMCG, the most of the sales that comes from is from the general trade, right? Because general trade is there in rural, in urban, at all the areas. So, if we really want to sustain the biggest part of the organization with after this pandemic, we need to do a lot of sales transformation. So we are actually currently focusing on how do the entire secondary sale model can be changed, right? How can people still work from anywhere, still cater to the people who are sitting in one of the small kirana shops in some of the village, and contact that kirana shop and get their orders, right? There could be many ways of doing so. They could be on a WhatsApp, on a SMS. How can we, how can those people who used to travel every day, right, can now connect without traveling much? Because never know, right? It's a third wave, fourth wave. God knows only how many waves would come, right? So we need to be ready for all of those waves or any new thing which come up. So for that, we are trying to transform that entire value chain of the sales. Second one is the value chain of the supply. So how do we make sure that we get continuous supply of the commodities, the raw material, the packing material? Because that is also equally important, because we have seen that with the lockdowns and all, you never know. All of these things may stop all of a sudden, right?
True.
So how can we come up with a lot of recycling of the material? How can we, reuse a lot of things? So that is again a value chain we are currently focusing on.
Mr. Agarwal, I believe that the difference between success and failure would lie in how well a company delivers high quality experiences by coordinating and integrating relationships across its entire ecosystem of customers, employees, vendors, and partners. And this is, what is called the value chain. How, according to you, can this be restructured in the post-COVID era?
Actually, I think, okay, interesting point, actually, very interesting point. See, the fundamentals of this value chain, again, they don't change. When I say fundamentals don't change, the relationships, when you look at relationships, they will have to continue to be the way they were either prior to pandemic or, during the pandemic. I don't think fundamentally the relationships have changed or the value of those relationships have changed. Those continue to be there. The only thing that has probably changed during the pandemic, I would say, in my mind, is the way you have interacted. I think that's fundamentally changed. Earlier you were able to interact, as Mr. Mayuresh was saying, maybe face to face. The salespersons were on the beat, they were on a journey cycle, they were traveling. So you were able to meet the people, you were able to meet your customers, you were able to maybe have a drink with them, you were able to have a meal with them. Now you're not able to do all of that. Now, whether we like it or not, as we always say, human beings are gregarious animals. We like, that bonding. We like to be with people, right? And unfortunately, irrespective of all the technology that is available to us, the way we are interacting right now, the way we can see each other, we are still missing that touch. I mean, probably if you were doing this, maybe, sitting on some, in some, hotel room or in some ballroom, the interaction would have been of a very, very different level, I would say. So I think that is missing right now. That human touch, what we call, is missing. Yes, God willing, it will come back. That's one element. As CIOs, as technology leaders, what can we do? We can, at this point in time, we can only try and make it as seamless, as easy as possible for our frontliners. When I say frontliners, I'm talking about those guys who are actually interacting with people, either within the organization, outside the organization. That is most important. How easy can you make it? Of course, there will still be limitations. You provide the Zoom platform, you provide this platform, that platform, every platform will be provided. But having said that, can we say, yes, I'm going to, instill that element of trust. That trust has not gone away just because we are not sitting across the table, we are not face to face. That trust is still there. We are still working together. You are my partner in this business, be it a customer or be it a supplier, but you are my partner. All the information that you need, as you said, where does that trust come from? If I'm being transparent, if I'm sharing all that information that is required to be shared, again, be with a vendor or be with the customer, if I'm able to share that transparently, the trust will be there. The value chain would continue to be intact. And we are seeing that. I mean, the good news is that, despite the pandemic, our organization has had a good growth, touch wood. Also because the packaging material demand has grown. People want everything to be packaged nicely. They want everything to be packaged in such a fashion that it is safe, etc., etc. But it has also been actually born out of the fact that the trust element across the value chain, as you said, be it customers, the employees, the partners, vendors, that has been intact. We've ensured, try to keep at least that trust intact. And so that's where we are.
Great. Wonderful, Mr. Agarwal. Final comments from you, Akash, before we wrap up the session on, how can you reimagine the value chain going forward?
Yeah, I'll probably summarize the points that I mentioned because we pretty much covered, the trends, and what are the challenges, what is the way forward, and things like these. But as I said, most customers today that we talk to, everybody is talking about, can I have connected operations? Because they have all inherited legacy in terms of, so they have functions, siloed functions, and then there are technologies serving those siloed functions. Can I have a single unified view of what's happening? And that is where I will have the capability to drive optimization. If I keep looking at things in pockets, I will never achieve a real transformation. So can I have a complete end-to-end view, manage risk, monitor the customer behavior, and then increase my turnaround time, the distribution time, the customer experience. One thing I think we spoke less about today was the service element part of it, the post-sale. So after the customer has purchased your products, what kind of experience do we provide? If there is an issue, he has to return the product, he's not happy, or he wants to have something additional on top of it. What kind of experience are we providing there? That is again a very important element actually. That requires your backend systems and everything to be tied end to end, your front, middle office, back office coming together so that your customers are very well taken care of. So yeah, these are some parting thoughts from my end.
Sure. Great. That was a wonderful discussion, panelists. But that's all we have time for. To sum up today's discussion, digital strategy shouldn't be built to last. It should be built to evolve. Major events like COVID-19 have shown enterprise leaders in the retail vertical that the more adaptability they can build into digital processes and workflows, the more likely they are to serve their customers, employees, and partners better. When the pandemic ends, companies will all adapt to some version of the new reality. For now, CIOs need to think proactively and build experience-based workflows from the outside in. With this, we come to the end of this session. Thank you so much, panelists, for your time and insights. Stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
everyone.
Thank you, everyone,
Bye.
For having me on the panel.
See you.